Gets open for three. Dagger!
Hello and welcome back to Well Beyond the Arc, bringing you all things NBA basketball. I'm Montana, joined always by my co-host David. How you doing this week, bro?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Last week of work / school for me, so I'm loving it, bro. I'm ready for the summer to start. I'm really
Okay.
ready for the summer to start. So it's going by super slow, but that's all right. Once it's done, it's done. That's all that matters. But what is definitely not done is NBA basketball. Even though we are East obviously wrapped up with the Celtics beating the Pacers, no one was too surprised about that one. Celtics really blew through the East. I mean, I think a lot of people assumed that's what would happen, but they also had the luck of certain injuries, certain things on their side. I still think they would be in this position no matter what. Even if all players that are injured would have been healthy, I still think Celtics would be here, possibly. But you're rocking with New York. You're thinking the Knicks would have knocked. You're thinking Knicks would have been the team, maybe, huh?
Nah. I mean,
If they
yeah,
stayed healthy or
six
Cat.
Sixers, six was Sixers could have because Embiid wasn't healthy. Miami didn't have Butler. Miami did could turn up and just ball lights out, and Indiana. Well, who knows what would have happened if they didn't sell game one and sell game three, and Tyrese ended up going down. If they were all healthy, what would have happened? So I don't know about that. Just or the Cavs if Donovan Mitchell had played was it game four when the series was 2-1 or something like that. Something I can't
Totally
remember
changed that series.
exactly. So
So who's to say? West is still going on. Unfortunately, I'm not just saying this because I'm not a Timberwolves guy. I really wanted the Mavs to close that series out, but it's still going on. But we're going to start our show how we always do before we get into the Mavs Timberwolves talk. We're going to start with a little good, bad, and ugly. My good for this week has to be, speaking of the Celtics, can't even talk today. The Celtics, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are just on a tear. And the entire Celtics team is on a tear through these playoffs, going 12-2. Now, we've already kind of dove into how there's some injuries and some things that might have affected how some of the series went. But no matter what, you've got to give credit to Tatum and Brown because those two have been with the Celtics for a minute. And they've proven that it's a good long-term investment. They are that team. They're the leaders. They're everything to that team. And when those two combine for 25 plus, they're more than likely going to win if those role players get active too. So shout out that my good has to be the Celtics, which I hate saying that as a Lakers guy, but it's got to be them this show. What about you, bro? What's your good for this show?
yeah, before I move on, I have to pose a question with following that. So obviously we know it's championship or bust. Like anyone that doesn't think so is crazy. If they end up not winning it, what do you do with this team? Because as you said, they have been there for a minute now. How do they move forward from this? Like this is their second final in what 3 years or something like that. Like it's crazy to think about how far they have gone, but they haven't just gotten over the hump. What do you do then if they end up not winning the chip?
Honestly, I feel like this team they didn't completely restructure, but they just got Porzingis. They just made moves to try to strengthen their team. So I think if they don't make it all the way, they'll try to run it back with this same team next year because obviously Porzingis is out. There's a couple of factors here that might be different next season. So I think honestly they'll try to run it back with this same squad, maybe make a few changes in the offseason, but because they just made a couple major changes to try to boost themselves to a chip, I don't think they'll make any big restructuring changes in the offseason. But I could be wrong. If they get dog walked by the Mavs, because assuming that's the team that makes it, maybe they do completely reshape. But I think they would just make a few minor adjustments and try to run it back with the same squad.
Yeah, now I'll break it up. But anyways, what do I care? I'm not a general manager. Anyways, my good has to be Minnesota. Thankfully, not get being swept. Because you know why? I still get to watch NBA basketball tomorrow.
That's true. That you know what? Yeah, shout out. I got it. Maybe my good should be them too, because that is true, bro.
Imagine Minnesota being swept and having to wait 10 whole days with no basketball to watch. Well, technically, if they end up losing game five, I'll still have to wait close to what 6 7 days to be able to before the final starts. But still,
Better.
at least I'm given the opportunity to watch basketball tomorrow. So credit to the Mavs, big game four for Carl Anthony Towns that was receiving a lot of criticism after game three for his poor shooting, and the whole team stepped up big time. Kat and Ant came up, did their thing. Naz Reid and the others came up big time. Rudy Gobert, after all the criticism he also received on playing defense, he came up big time too. So credit to Minnesota, and the fact that I still get to watch basketball tomorrow, so that's my good.
No, that's a good. My bad, moving into bad. It has to be a little different than some NBA news or action going on. It's actually a take that I made. We did a top 10 players in the NBA like 3, 4, 5 episodes ago. And this was right before the NBA playoffs or right when they started. And I put Embiid at number 1. And I'm going to take that back and I'm going to change my list. And I'm going Luka 1, Joker 2, Embiid 3. And I'm keeping Luka. I'm not putting Joker at 1. I'm going to move him above Embiid because of the Nuggets making it as far as it did in the playoffs, and Joker did play pretty good in the playoffs. But Luka is still number 1. So my take, that was a bad take, putting Embiid at 1. I expected, honestly, when I put him at 1, I expected him to come out on a tear, and I expected that 76ers team to make it to the finals, or at least the Eastern Conference Finals. And that was a very possible – that was possible. It did not happen, but there was a realm where that could have potentially happened, and it didn't. So that's why I made that take, but I got to admit, that was not a great take. With them getting eliminated like they did and him being so injury-prone and just being out as much as he was this season, I got to take that one back. But my boy Luka's still number 1.
Luka for MVP, yeah. There's to be fair, there was a strong case for that. I have to give you that. And SG ended up finishing above him, but it is what it is. You know, the guys that get to vote, whatever, it is what it is. But my bad has to be freaking Celtics sweeping the Indiana, and I'm looking at it from a point of view is I could have been watching NBA basketball today, but Celtics had to go sweep them. So now I get no NBA basketball. But the reason why I say this, and jokes aside, is because Indiana, I think, sold 2 games to the Celtics. Game 1 precisely where with was it 0.8 seconds to go or 8 seconds to go, they they gave the ball up, and Jalen Brown ended up doing what he did. And then game 3 they were up 20. No, not 20. That's big. Was it 10 or something? I can't remember the score precisely. And they ended up not scoring in the final 3 minutes of the game. And I think the same thing happened in game 4, that kind of thing. So it just happened all these games, like yeah, they fought, but then you just have to think, what if they had done better? What if they had done this better? Like they literally sold game 1 and game 3. That series should have been 2-2 going into game 5. But it is what it is, and I don't get to watch basketball today. But yeah.
No, unfortunately, the series are really chipping down, and now we're down to the end of it. It's basketball's just about done. We got to soak in the last couple of weeks because we're about to be on a big old break, man. I'm gonna miss it. That's it. It's gonna be a huge break. But moving into ugly, I'm gonna go with Rudy Gobert, 4-time Defensive Player of the Year. Rudy Gobert's defense during the playoffs. Has he shown up a game or two and played all right defense? Yes. But when you look at the accolade of 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, you expect the best defense. Would Luka still have made that shot over him? Probably. But if you see the defense that Gobert put up against that shot, it is ridiculous. It is not good. I don't want to throw because obviously Murray made a shot over AD, but AD's defense, in my personal opinion, the picture looks way better than Gobert's. And maybe that's just me being a Lakers homer, being a Lakers fan. But regardless of that, just looking beyond that shot, his defense has been not very electric during the playoffs. And again, when you see 4-time defensive player, that's an accolade very few players have achieved. So I would expect lockdown defense, and I would expect a little bit more. Now, obviously, you could say, okay, last episode I was talking about how they were losing the series to the Nuggets because they didn't have that interior defense. They didn't have the big men weren't showing up. They ended up winning that series. So the flip side is you could say, well, they won that. It was not because of Gobert. That's not why they won that series. But he has had a couple of games. I'm just saying 4-time Defensive Player of the Year. He does not play defense like that. So that's got to be my ugly. But again, I think I gave preface to this a couple episodes ago and said it would be in my list eventually. I hope it wasn't in my list last episode. I'm not trying to keep doing it, but I'll have to walk the tape back. What's your ugly, though, for this show?
Yeah, Rudy Gobert. Anytime I think of him, I think of barbecue chicken, just because that's what Jokic was doing to him in the,
Gosh, for real, though.
But yeah, my ugly has to be Carl Anthony Towns, and I kind of said this earlier. Like game three was terrible, and I think not just him, but like him and Rudy Gobert game three, they were both horrendous. Obviously, Carl Anthony Towns standing out more just because he's you know he's the second he's the second big name in the franchise, so not number one overall pick in the whatever draft it was. But yeah, he went abysmal in that game, shooting what 4 of 18, what or 5 of 18. What am I meant to do with 5 of 18? Zero from 3 point. I'm like, you can't be doing that in a game three of a conference finals. Like, yeah, big up to him for stepping up in game four, but even game four was quite scary because if Kyrie had come to play, I don't think they would have won game four. And I'm being frank. I watched the game throughout and I'm looking at it and I'm like, in the first half he just had 5 points. Yeah, credit to him. Second half he had 17. If Kyrie had come to play, I don't think they would have come out and it would have been a sweep. And I'll actually not be watching basketball tomorrow. But Carl Anthony Towns, yeah, I think he has a style of play, and I feel like he needs to change it. I feel like he has the size to be posting up in the low block and collecting the ball like Shaq type of play and be dominating pretty much all the miss because he can pretty much mismatch. Is a mismatch against any of the Dallas players. Like literally, let's be frank. So like just do that, but he ends up going outside, taking the three, trying to like take two, drive to the paint, like I don't know, but anyways, that's just me ranting. But yeah,
No, bro. I mean, that's tell it how it is because Cat is not that dude. He's what did he say at the beginning of the season? Didn't he say he was gonna? He said something about like changing doing something crazy. He said, so do you remember? I don't know exactly. He had some quote about like not being the best at his position, but some major quote about how he was going to go off something. And the thing about that is there are certain areas where he definitely can go off and play amazing, but there's a big hole in his game, and he's showing it majorly in this Mavs matchup because this is a mismatch. You see the size. This Mavs team is a mismatch. This is a huge mismatch. So the Timberwolves, if they had players that could take advantage of that, this would not be a series that they're on the brink of being eliminated. This would be tied, I think. I believe this would be tied. I don't think,
exactly.
or we'd be looking at a way different series. So that's a good ugly, and unfortunately, like I just don't see that changing. But our next topic is actually exactly that: the Timberwolves versus the Mavs, Game 5. Can the Mavs close it out, or do the Timberwolves still have life? I'm going to go ahead and say this: I called that the Timberwolves were dead in the water in the Nuggets series, and I was wrong. But the reason that this feels a lot different is because the level of like drop off has been much larger in this series. This is not that same series. When they played the Nuggets, the games were a lot different. The Mavs control these games. The Mavs have been in control. Ant has not played incredible. Ant has not played incredible since the middle of the last series. So for me, I think the series is done. I think the Mavs will close it out in game 5. I think Kyrie and Luka will go off and combine because when those two play their top level of basketball, they might be the best backcourt currently in the NBA, or at least they're in that conversation. They're one of them. They're in the conversation for sure. So I think they're going to close it out, and it goes beyond. I mean, they've got Washington. It goes beyond just Kyrie and Luka, but Kyrie and Luka are going to combine. I'm going to go 65 to 70 points between the two of them in game 5, and they close it out. That's my prediction. And then we're waiting. And then we have a big old break till the finals, and we're going to have a little bit of a wait. But that's my prediction. What about you? What do you think? Do you think the T-Wolves still have life?
No, I don't. I think what was it? Kyrie shot what 8 of something else. A crazy ass number last game in game four. And as I said, the teams are separated. Like if you count the differentials, like how game has been won, the total of all 4 games has been 8 points. I think this was the largest defeat or so, something like that. So it has been games have been close. So I look at game 5 and I'm like, Kyrie is definitely not going to shoot that bad. He will come out to close the game. Like this is a closeout game. He doesn't want to go 14-2 because obviously before last game he was 14-0 in closeout games, but now he's 14-1. He's definitely not going to go 14-2. right? I know Kyrie will definitely not come out and shoot that, but I know Luca will not shoot bad. Like Luca will be Luca, and if Minnesota plays the way they played in Game 4, they will lose. They will lose, and I have that happening. I have Kyrie and Luca picking up and closing out this series. As much as I don't want to, as much as I wanted to go to Game 7 to keep watching basketball, but I still see it ending in 5, and Dallas deserve it. Like they have been exceptional just throughout the whole series. Like I can't even take anything from them. It's been an amazing run for them. So
They've
yeah,
been a phenomenal second half of the season. Not even second, even just playoffs.
since
Because
the trade deadline,
yeah, they've made some moves. They kind of, I mean, they look a lot stronger than they did before that deadline. It was a big. It honestly does remind me of the Lake. Not the exact. They weren't in the exact same position that the Lakers were the season before, and they made the run to the conference finals. But they did strengthen what they already had, and they had a turnaround. I don't know what it was, but that shout out to Kyrie for changing that narrative about the end of his career, because we could be looking at a two-time champion, if not maybe more. I think that the Mavs would be really lucky to just win one, because no teams are going back to back. And so I don't see them winning another one, but who knows? They haven't even won the first one yet. But the fact that Kyrie could win another championship, be a leader for a team, and after people were already talking about him leaving that team after just getting there, that's huge. That's going to – so shout out to Kyrie Irving. Shout out to Luka. I'm always going to shout Luka out. MVP. He was robbed. I'm just kidding. But shout out to Luka. Shout out to the Mavs. We will see. I think they're going to close it out. Could the Timberwolves win one more? They could win. I'll give them one more. I'll give them one more at the most, but I just don't see it happening. But because even though you said, the games have been very close, but the Mavs have just, honestly, the entire playoffs, they have been very in control, except for the games that they have lost. They're a team that plays very relaxed. They play a brand of basketball that we have not seen in Dallas since Dirk. Since Dirk was there leading things, we have not seen a team that has this type of flow. So shout out to the Mavs, and shout out to Ghost if they're still watching the stream, because I know that they're big Mavs fans. And I think Mavs are going all the way and winning the chip. And we're going to actually talk about that right now, because even though, again, the West is not wrapped up, the East is wrapped up with the Celtics 12-2, blowing through the East. So we'll talk about our playoff predictions and just a little playoff preview. First of all, this really reminds me, if the Mavs are the team that makes it all the way, this is a matchup that reminds me of that Warriors-Celtics matchup during those finals, because of the size difference. It's very similar. Neither team really has super dominant size. Neither team has someone over 7 foot that has dominant size. So honestly, I really, really think this is a very even matchup. I'm not going to say this is a small ball type of matchup, but these are two teams where dominant big men are not their strength. That's not something that they're known for. They don't have an AD. They don't have an Embiid or a Joker. So
they have a Porzingis go.
They do have true. That's the one difference maker, that like when the Celtics went to the championship against the Warriors, they did not have, that's the one difference maker. But with his health, even when he's in, his health is always kind of a question mark. We've seen him go down at the worst times. So Porzingis, that's a great point. That's the one difference maker on the Celtics that pushes it. But they're mostly known and mostly being led by their guards right now. So this will be a matchup that reminds me a lot of that 2021-22 finals. The only difference, like you said, is Porzingis. If he's healthy, that's a huge difference maker. I've got this going to 6 or 7 games. If it's Mavs Celtics, like I think it is, even with Porzingis back, I think it's going to 6 or 7 games, just because I think it's going to be that type of matchup. What are your thoughts on this potential finals we're looking at?
I don't know. I'm trying to do something this time, and I'm going to say I'm going to not predict anything for this one. I'm going to keep it wide open, just because I want to be I'm not entertained, but I want to be surprised. Like I want to be like, oh my god, like that, something like that. So I really don't have a prediction for this one, but yeah, you have pretty much said it. Porzingis is the difference maker. He's the one that would definitely be the one, spacing the floor and things like that. So, and yeah, the guards, they are pretty much playing guard basketball, and to be fun to see. To be fun to see. I don't know how many games to go to. Just cause my mind is again, I'm being surprised. I want to be surprised, but I'm also my mind is also being focused on the Dallas Minnesota series. So my brain right now isn't there yet. So I don't know what this will go to, but to be fun, to be fun. And I do want something. Obviously, I do want the Mavs. I want Mavs to win, but we'll see.
It'll be very interesting. What I will say is Porzingis is currently still listed as out with his ramping up intensity, trying to see if they can get there, but they're still undetermined if he'll be back for game one. If there was any reason that he's out game one, and we are looking at a Mavs Celtics series, I see the Mavs taking game one. And honestly, I've said this before on this show and just in conversation with people. There are some series where the first game one, whoever wins game one wins the series. I think this could be a series where even if it goes stretches to 7, I think whoever gains control in the first game could potentially continue that throughout the series. And I think it could be the Mavs, especially if Porzingis is out. But if Porzingis is in, we could be looking at the exact opposite where the Celtics gain control. So it's going to be really interesting. Porzingis is a mismatch. My one concern, which not concerned because I'm not a Celtics or Porzingis guy, but my one thought is, could Porzingis go back down? Could Porzingis be in for 1, 2, 3, and then game 4 he goes down and the series flips? You never know what could happen. And Porzingis throughout his career has had injuries pretty much not every season, but to an extent, he's had at least minor injuries that have kept him out for a couple of weeks, probably every season, maybe minus his rookie year. When he first got to New York, he was pretty active. That's what put him on the map. But then we started to see more injuries and breakdowns. So Porzingis is the difference maker. And that's why they got him. We were talking about what happens to the Celtics if they lose the series, if they go back to another finals in the last 4 years and lose. Then he's the white Greg Oden. I wouldn't say that. The difference between him and Greg Oden is he actually had enough playing time to have a career. Greg Oden didn't even have any time on the court. He was injury prone out of college. Porzingis has had a little bit of time to build a career, but they got him for the reason that they lost against the Warriors. They needed that size. With Embiid, with these guys, not only in the East, but Joker, Embiid, there are AD. You want to be able to compete with size. So they got Porzingis for that size, but he's not very reliable. So the size is a huge difference maker here, but the biggest difference maker is health. And that's always what it is for all teams. But when we're talking about the Mavs, there's really no injury-ridden players. I mean, this is a really healthy, exciting to watch, fun team. And I'm really glad they've made it this far. Honestly, I definitely could have seen them losing in that second round, possibly. I definitely could have seen that switching, but they just showed who they are. I think that's where they really showed who they are. And so I'm going with Mavs, but just for fun, let's say the Timberwolves, for some reason, make a comeback. Do you think the Timberwolves versus the Celtics would be a closer series than Mavs? No team has ever came back from being down 0-3
I'll give you this to be a harder series for the Celtics in terms of having
because
to
of the
compete with the
size.
size, yeah.
Yeah.
With the size. But then again, as I said, to your home courts, Celtics have a tendency of dropping games at home. Minnesota has tendencies of dropping games at home too. So again, I think it's based on whose superstar shows up. If Ant and Catch both show up, I don't see any of the Celtics stopping. I don't see the Celtics stopping. Well, except if it will be kind of like a what they call this gunfights where you are both shooting at yourselves. If Cat and Ant both show up and JB and JT both show up, it's just be a backup game, and then to come down to like the final possession or something like a very small, the smallest of margins to kind of differentiate them. So I think it'll be a harder series for the Celtics. Not to take anything away from the Mavs, just because of the size.
Mm-hmm. I know.
From a size perspective, to be a harder series, but I don't from a basketball IQ, basketball skill type game. I think the Mavs would be harder for the Celtics than and matchups. It would be harder for the Celtics than so it would be harder for Celtics to play against Mavs than Timberwolves.
Oh, I think I lost sound. And you might be muted. Oh, there you go. You might have. Oh wait, never mind. I can't hear you. I thought Jay might have muted you for a second, but we're not talking about the Bucks. So
Okay, am I back? Can you hear me?
Oh, there we go. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I hear you now. Sorry,
Okay,
bro.
yeah.
It might have just been on my end. I might not even been on the stream's end. But
Nah.
continue. I wasn't sure what was going on.
Yeah, I don't know where I stopped. I don't know what was lastly you heard, but yeah, as I was saying, yeah, it's been an easier matchup in terms of size for the Celtics if they play Dallas. But in terms of the basketball, like IQ, matchups, and like, skill, likewise, it'd be harder to play the Mavs than Timberwolves. So it's be interesting to see. But again, it's just all ifs. I don't think Minnesota, no one expects Minnesota to win the series now. So
I would be shocked. That would literally they'd be the first team to ever come back from that.
that
So they're not the
that
team
would,
to do.
yeah, that would definitely be better than 3-1 down. So we'll see.
That'd be that would be insane. But honestly, the one thing I will say is I called, and I don't know, I don't remember. I don't think you were not quite as they're out as I was, but I think we both said that they were more than likely out in the last series. I know I was like, oh, they're done.
I
The
guess
Nuggets.
OKC.
Oh no,
Oh no,
against Timberwolves versus Nuggets. I was like, Nuggets are gonna finish it. You were not as sure, but I was
no, I was
absolutely.
I wanted Nuggets to be out. Like I wanted them out. I was more of like Timberwolves in. Like I wasn't scared when Nuggets came back. I wanted
And I was
Timberwolves to win.
all the way out. So see, that was the thing is I don't want to make a call because I was all the way out and then they came back. So I don't. There's no universe where they come back from being down 3-0. Again, the best I'll give them is one more game against Dallas. But the one thing about that, still talking about the finals, if Dallas, the longer Dallas has to play against the Timberwolves, the worse it is for their series against the Celtics, especially if Porzingis is healthy and back. You want rest. You want to be ready. You want that game plan for Porzingis if he's definitely going to be back, and not even just Porzingis, the whole team, because
The
that is a
whole
dangerous
team.
squad. That is a. We talked about how they ran through the East because of a big reason they ran through like they did, especially teams like the Cavs and the Heat, are because of injuries. That they would they still have been here? More than likely, yes, unless they possibly played, like we talked, a team like the 76ers, a completely healthy 76ers versus the Celtics. That's a different playoffs in the East, without a doubt. We didn't see that. We saw them play an unhealthy Heat, an unhealthy Cavs, and an unhealthy. We saw them play teams that were not healthy throughout the whole range of the playoffs. So for me, I think they're dominant, but you've got to look at both sides of it. For all of it, honestly. I think they definitely did dominate the playoffs, but they also had a little bit of help with that. But regardless of that, this is a dangerous team. You don't want to play a game 7 if you're the Mavs against the Timberwolves. You do not want to push it to a game 7. The most you want to close it out is 6, but again, I'm closing it out in 5. And then I think the Mavs are going to win. I don't want to make a prediction because until we see the series start, game 1 is going to be the difference maker, and how that series starts is going to be a difference maker. I'm going to stand on that. So until I see that, I don't want to make a call, but I do think the Mavs definitely could get it done. We could see Luka get his first chip, and we could see Kyrie get his second. And it's going to be it's going to be a great series. Whatever the outcome, I see it being a 6-7 game series. I think it's going to be one of the best finals we have seen in the last few years. I do really think we're going to see some close games, maybe a couple of overtime games. I think it's going to be exciting. So I'm excited. We obviously will touch more on the finals once they actually begin. But moving on, some NBA news. Ty Lue, Lakers fans, if any Lakers fans are watching, no, we're not getting Ty Lue. I didn't ever really want him, but he does definitely have a resume to back him up. So Ty Lue, officially today signed a contract extension. $70 million is what it said to be. At first, I saw it saying it was 5 years, and then I saw it saying it was undisclosed. So I'm not sure which one it is, but I think it's whichever one it is. It says he's paying up to 70 million, and it's either 5 years or undisclosed. Either way, my question to you is this: obviously, David, me and you are both avid Lakers fans, so we're not too big of Clippers guys at all. At least I'm not. I don't know about you, but I'm not rocking with the Clippers too much. But looking at this major investment, this major long-term deal, do you see the Clippers making it to the finals or possibly winning a championship under Ty Lue? Is this a very possible thing with this extension? What are your thoughts on this? Is this a good move for the Clippers? Is this a good move for Ty Lue? What are your thoughts?
I think it's pretty good from a keeping all your eggs in one basket perspective. Um, that's the same thing Dallas did too. With all the NBA firings now, Cavs are looking for a head coach, Lakers are looking for a head coach. So tie him down obviously was a smart choice, just so that, no one will come poach you. No one will come poach your coach. But from a Clippers perspective, I guess I don't really vibe with the Clippers that much. And good for them. I don't see them going anywhere as long as Kawhi keeps going down in the middle of a series. Like I don't know how he keeps doing it. Like, and I'm not going to bash him and say his injury might be fake or whatever. But then how does he keep going down in the middle of a series with weird ass injuries? Like he pretty much plays the season to make all NBA second team. But then in the middle of a series, he goes down. Like it's kind of weird when you look at it, but I don't see Clippers going anywhere, especially with the fact that they don't have Paul George, was the word tied down. I don't see what's happening with that. I don't think Tyloo is a big factor. Yeah, he's a factor, but I don't think he's a factor when you look at the rest of the team, like Kawhi, you look at Paul George, obviously Harden, you have Westbrook. Um, So again, I'm not bashing him. It's just weird when you see him going. He played 2 games in the series or whatever, and then goes down for some weird ass injury. Like that's like, and I don't know. Okay, it is what it is. He'll probably play Team USA basketball too, so it's kind of also weird to, you know, whatever it is. But anyways, yeah, Clippers will go as far as Kawhi carries them because the West is stacked and it is what it is. But credit to Tyler, I think he deserves it. He's done an incredible job with the Clippers. He's made them what's the word, a much more, and don't when I mean much more respected organization. I mean in terms of when you talk of title contenders, now you put Clippers have odds in there too now. So yeah, credit to him.
Absolutely. I mean, as much as I hate the Clippers, you have to give credit to Ty Lue because he has changed. They were not, I mean, they were a team that very well could have fallen off and could have dropped and stopped being a playoff team and a second round team, or at least making it to the first. They could have stopped being a team that made noise, but he's helped them remain a team that makes noise. They're not going to win anything with this current squad. They're going to have to restructure. I have a feeling that means restructuring around Kawhi, as I do see Paul George leaving. I can see James Harden staying. I can see them retaining a lot of the players they have now, but I think they need to move on from Paul George. I think everyone needs to move on. Because on the flip side, then, okay, are you moving on from Kawhi or are you moving on from Paul George? And at the end of the day, it's Paul George because I think he is also ready to move on. So I think they're going to restructure, they're going to rebuild, and I think we're going to see a team built around an aging vet Kawhi that is successful, that goes on several playoff runs, maybe even makes it to the finals in the future under Ty Lue, but I don't think
Which of the Kawhis are we talking about? Which Kawhi?
hey, Kawhi Leonard,
I don't know which Kawhi we're talking about here. I'm
Claw,
sorry.
the
I don't
GOAT.
I don't
You
I don't
remember
know
the
which I
watch
don't
him
know
go
which,
on a Raptors, watch him go on a Raptors run, bro.
yeah, if he stays healthy,
He's
right?
he can. That's the thing. He hasn't been that player since then. We haven't seen him be that player. He honestly, when he was on the Raptors, he was like, I don't. It was different that season. He played basketball that he never did.
That's what I was thinking too.
I would
Keep
say yes, but I think Paul George doesn't want to stay. That's the reason that I think it's good for all parties to move on because I think Paul George is ready to move on. But as the on the Clippers side of things, looking at Kawhi and his health and several things, and just but again, I don't know, building a team, if they're rebuilding a team, if they're actually going to restructure that team, I would still rebuild that around Kawhi. The only issue is his health. But because of who he is as a player, I would probably restructure the team around Kawhi over Paul George. But at the same time, Paul George is not injury. He's as injury, not as injury prone, but he's had a lot of injuries, and his game has definitely broken down. But coming from a Clipper, run that last comment back. I want to see that again, because you know what? PG-13 needs the max contract. Honestly, I cannot see that happening just because I don't know. I don't see that. I can see why you would want that because it makes sense. Paul George being on that team as opposed, it does make sense, but I don't see them giving up on Kawhi. I think they're going to restructure that team around Kawhi. Do they keep James Harden? Maybe. Do they keep a couple other players on that team? Possibly, but I think they're going to start building. But yeah, no, I definitely think that they're wrong as well. But as a Lakers fan, hey, they can continue being wrong. That's fine. Whatever keeps them out of any championship talk. And I know I just said that they could make it to the finals under Ty Lue, but that is like my ceiling for them with him is making it to the finals. I think they'll be a team, but under Ty Lue, they'll make the playoffs every single season. No question about it.
Definitely.
Ever being a team that is out of the playoffs, unless there's some major if they do restructure the team and it goes poor, like the Lakers tried to do if there's something like that, sure, but I don't see that happening because they're a really well-ran organization. Shout out to the Clippers because honestly, they are a pretty well-run organization. So I see them remaining that way, and that's the whole. You said it earlier, way earlier. They saw the Lakers. They saw these teams needing a coach, and they're like, nah, because they know that Ty Lue is gonna, especially the LeBron Ty. He would have definitely been interviewed, and who knows? Maybe there was not an interview. Maybe there was some talk behind the scenes that we don't know about, but definitely locked that down and good for them. I think that's a good fit for everybody involved. So shout out to the Clippers. Oh, shout out to the Clippers. Shout out to the Celtics. I'm having to shout out all the teams that I hate today, but it's all right. Moving on, we're going to talk a little bit of Bronny talk because he's all over. If you're on social media or if you're on anywhere, all over the place, ESPN, Sports Center, it's Bronny.
ESPN making bank on his name though. They should be paying this.
Well, that's why that's the only reason they're doing it is because it's a hot topic. I mean, it's the news. Should it be as big as it is? I don't know. It's not like we're talking about a player that had a carbon copy career as LeBron, like in high school. Like it's not like we're talking about a player that came right out of high school and is like this dude. It's not the same type. If this was like a carbon copy situation where he's coming out of high school or even coming out of a really successful college season, this would maybe deserve a little bit more hype. But we're looking at a player that averaged under 6 points a game in his college season and did not get a lot of time on the court. So my question, and the time that he did was not very successful. He had a lot of very unsuccessful games from three, where that is one of the things he's known for. But looking aside all of that, as of today, he has officially forfeited any college eligibility and is entering the draft. And currently, he has only agreed to work out for the Lakers and the Suns. Now, the Suns, of course, have first-round traction. I don't see them spending that on Bronny, especially because that's a team after blowing it in the playoffs like they did, taking a gamble on a player. And again, it is a gamble. It's a gamble. It's a gamble. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say, it is a gamble. So doing that gamble would not be smart. Lakers, on the other hand, you're looking at second round pick. If he's still available, which I believe he will be absolutely available till the second round. I don't think LeBron and him playing together is as big of a thing as it was for LeBron, for the sole purpose that I think it would, if LeBron and the Lakers had won a chip this season or made it further, I think LeBron would be like, yeah, I'm out. I want to play with myself, or let's bring him in. But because they didn't, I think regardless of if he plays for the Lakers or not, he wants to win a championship. He has accomplished the scoring. He's accomplished almost everything. I think the only other thing that he's really looking at is a championship. And so I think the reason he backed off of that is because he doesn't want to go to the Magic, or he doesn't want to go to a team that's going to try to get Bronny so they can get LeBron. So I don't see him coming to the Lakers. we were talking before we went live. The Heat have the 43rd pick, and you said this would be a good partnership because the Heat need a player in that position to grow that position, and vice versa. They would help him grow. Being under Coach Spoelstra, being under that team and that type of organization, I think Bronny would actually be successful very early on, and that team could. What if we look at the Heat going to the playoffs next season with Bronny playing next to Jimmy Butler if he's still there? So I'll let you take it away. We're not going to talk about this too long because it's not as big of news as people are making it. But where do you see him going, and do you see him making a difference, or do you think this will be a disaster, him leaving college this early?
I mean, when he was in college, everyone gave him the benefit of the doubt just because they claimed he was playing out of position, so he didn't have the best of college, obviously, college career. But with that being said, and I'll reference this. You can go check it out. I'm not trying to promote it, but the Draymond Green podcast where he talked about it for a minute, and he said something. He said Bronny has the potential to be a good 3-and-D guy, and so I think someone said here too, he'll be a professional. You are drafting a guy that'll be professional. He'll play defense and he will shoot the three ball where you need him to shoot the three ball. He's an undersized, no, I don't say undersized guard, but I think for his position, you expect more from him in terms of size. But again, he's not going to sign a 2-way deal, so he's definitely not going to the G League. He's definitely going to, you know, get drafted to either be in rotation or just be around the organization that would, build him up. So to answer your question of where will he be drafted at, I really don't know. I don't think he's going in first round, but I really don't know. I think he has the potential to have a very successful NBA career. He will have a very successful NBA career. And I do see him as, when I think of players that he could be like, I think of Jaden McDaniels, I think of Jared Vanderbilt, I think of trying to think, Malik Beasley. Those are the type of guys I think of when I think of Bronny, just because they are not superstars, but they are good role players that can come into the team, play good defense for you, and drop 15 to 20 points a game for you on a good night. On a bad night, drop 10. Maybe a couple of assists, rebounds here and there, steals here and there, and, he won't sign the max deal. You get what I mean? So make all defense. He'll make first team all, second, third team all NBA. Well, depending on how he grows in his development, but he'll definitely be there for most defensive, things like that. So in terms of what team would draft him, I really don't know. To be honest, I don't think I really care. To be honest, whoever drafts him. As I said, LeBron hasn't made that less of a priority right now. Whatever happens. Lakers could draft him. Dallas could draft him. Me personally, I would love Miami to draft him, just because, as I told you, a great organization that would grow. He'll be next to Jim Butler. And I think that organization, the players also take it under their wings to grow the players. So, and honestly speaking, I don't want him to go to the Lakers just because the reason he'll probably get game time is just because of, his dad. Again, he's not signing a 2-way deal, so he will not go to the G League. So yeah, I think we can put it to bed and let's see. He's leaving college to. The worst case scenario is he will become an undrafted free agent. That's the worst case scenario, and we've seen undrafted free agents make it to the big leagues. Austin Reeves is an example of that. So we'll see where that goes.
Absolutely. I think it'll be interesting. We'll obviously track at the NBA draft coming up later in the summer, and we'll see where he ends up going. I definitely think he will get drafted. I definitely think he will be built into a really important part of an organization. I don't think it'll be the Lakers, and I think, again, if the Lakers had won the chip, if things would be different on all ends. I don't think the Lakers are going to pursue him, because especially if LeBron is not making it a priority. I don't think the Lakers are going to pursue him at all, honestly. I really, really, truly don't. Unless he works out and it seems like a good fit and they see something they like, maybe they do. The Lakers have not been very successful in the draft post getting AD, honestly. Since we got Anthony Davis, we have not really. I will say Max Christie, that is one player that I really like Christie quite a bit. Christie is a player that if we had utilized him better under the coaches we'd had, I think he would be not in the starting lineup, but he'd have a lot more minutes
Good
and a lot
rotation, yeah. Good
more
rotation and player,
yeah.
yeah.
So honestly, other than him, we have not been extremely successful in the draft. So in that respect, it's like I wouldn't hate taking a gamble on a player, but I just don't think this is the player to take a gamble on. And I also don't think, like you said, I don't think he would get the minutes that he deserves. He wouldn't get the look or the chance he deserves. And maybe LeBron also realized that too, that it would get overshadowed. So there's a lot of different. And Bronny maybe just told his dad, I don't want to do I want to just do my. He very well might have done that because he never came out and said he wanted to play with his dad. He actually only came out and said, I never said that. So. We'll see. Time will tell. But moving on, speaking of LeBron, we're going to talk a little more LeBron because who doesn't love talking about LeBron? He's always in the news for something. I will say, all jokes aside, I really don't like to talk. I am a Lakers fan, not a LeBron fan. So love him when he's playing good and doing what, but nah, sometimes the narrative and everything's a little bit too much. But what I will say, what is not a narrative is he is going to be turning 40, I'm pretty sure, in December. And time is ticking, and he has given the Lakers a lot more than what they have given him and what has been given back, in my personal opinion, as a whole. So there's something to be said for that. But with that, it came out today that he officially declined his option and is going to be a free agent. Personally, I think he's just trying to get that because I think he said he plans to play 2 to 3. And I don't know if he officially said this or if it was someone close to him said this. He plans to play 2 to 3 more years and then retire. I fully expect him to sign a 2 to 3 year contract with the Lakers. I think that's exactly what he's doing, especially if they're going to be aggressive. I'm sure that they're already trying to figure out what are we going to do with the head coach? Who are we going to put around AD, LeBron? They're already aggressively thinking about what they're going to do. So me personally, I think he just declined it because why would he do that? At this point in his career, why would he do that? So I think he's going to sign a 2 to 3 year contract with the Lakers. But the 76ers are one team that worries me a little bit just because they have the power and the picks and the everything to make a trade that the Lakers might look at. And also I just there's something about that kind of makes me wonder if that would be the one. But LeBron going all the way back to the East, probably not going to happen. If they get JJ Redick or a coach that LeBron really likes or signs off on, then I definitely see him staying. Once they announce the head coach, that'll be a bigger sign of if LeBron is just waiting to sign a bigger contract or if he's actually thinking of leaving. If it's JJ Redick, he's in. I definitely think and I don't want to make that call, but I just think that's a big thing. I think who they hire and what the Lakers do beyond the coach, like with the free agents and with trades and everything. LeBron is probably very rightfully so looking at that because he's almost done and he's going to be turning 40. So what is not a narrative that he is chasing is that he's aging and that he needs to go out how he wants to go out, which I think is a champion. So my question to you is, do you see him staying a Laker or do you see him leaving?
Yeah. There are too many narratives out there, and I'm not even going to say anything about it because it's just weird. Like again, like the coaches, then like I've seen some narratives where they're like, oh, the LeBron is the one that hires the coaches. I've seen the one where it's like, LeBron started the podcast with JJ so that he can get JJ the head coaching position, whatever, blah blah, all this. Allow me to say, fully crazy ass narratives out there. But what I do know is LeBron is not leaving LA. That's one thing. I think LeBron is opting out, and which makes sense. He's opting out to restructure the deal because if he, what's is it 54.1 million or whatever up the player option is. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, I don't think it entices. I think he cares more about the amount of time he's staying. So he just wants to restructure the deal, not. And I think he also wants to put. And one narrative I do agree with is he's passive aggressive. So I think he just wants to put more pressure on the organization to go out there and make the moves he thinks or they think he needs, like, surrounding with better shooters, getting depth, things like that. I don't think he cares more about the coaching decision. Because again, reports have also come out that the Lakers are far from hiring a new position. They have long scheduled interviews with people next week and things like that. So I think in terms of the coaching, I don't think that will affect his decision, to be honest. Except they go and bring one of these guys, like the guy that coached the Hornets to where they are, whatever. But yeah, I don't think the coaching decision will have any impact on whether he stays or leave. Um, Free agency will probably not have. Again, LeBron knows already what he's going to do. He's going to opt out and he's going to resign, just to restructure the deal. Maybe not take more money, maybe take more money, whatever it is. Maybe leave cap room space for more players, maybe not leave. And the big thing is, I think everything is down to him just wanting to leave the organization to Anthony Davis. You know what I mean? Like, this is kind of his way of pulling away and leaving Anthony Davis to be like, okay, you do this, you do this, you decide this, you decide that. I'm pretty much going to be gone in the next few years. You have to pick up the mantle, things like that. So that's where I see it. So yeah, I'm not reading too deep into it. He's definitely going to resign, and yeah, this is what it is. It's just LeBron making the news for to give ESPN clicks and whatnot. So yeah.
Hopefully it's just that. I definitely feel like that other than the 76ers, that's the one team that makes me wonder if they'll make a push that he at least listens to a little bit, but more than likely he's just waiting to restructure, especially since if he wasn't 40, going to be turning 40 and he wasn't towards the end of his career, then he probably maybe would just do that. But who knows? Time will tell. LeBron very well could play the rest of his career as a Laker, win one more chip, or just play the rest of his career as a Laker, not win a chip. Time will tell. I am hoping that the team looks different in the fall, no matter what that means, and that does not mean without LeBron, without AD. But that I hope our team does look a little bit different, because as a Lakers fan, not a LeBron fan, I'm getting kind of tired. And it's not his fault in this, not even close. If anything, the last couple of seasons, the organization has slightly failed him in several different ways, but at the same time, it's been kind of a joint situation. So he's not completely a saint in the whole situation, because one player he did sign off on, that we know he did because he admitted to it,
That's very true.
Russell Westbrook. And that whole situation, he came out and publicly did admit that he messed up on that. So that's one area where he was like kind of a big fuck you to our organization, was that not on purpose. He thought it was going to be good, but that's
I mean, we all did on paper. You can't expect
the
on
narrative
paper.
of decisions is not true. That I'm going to 100% say right now. What you said earlier about that is 100% true, because there is a narrative that he does. That's not how that. Especially an organization like the Lakers, that's not going to fly like. Maybe when he was in Cleveland, but in Miami and in LA, he's not calling the shots and doing 100% that. Cleveland, I can give you that. I'll give you Cleveland
Yeah,
calls.
he's their what? Golden boy. He's their
Yeah,
golden boy. They'll do anything for him. Yeah.
Cleveland, I
So
will give you, he might have done it. That's where the narrative built up. But anyways, moving on. Time for our man. I'm having trouble speaking today. Time for our top of the hour five. I saw Stephen A. Smith do a list of this, and this is why we're doing it.
but that's he's his playoffs. He's his
Yeah, this
playoffs.
this is just all time. His was playoffs.
Yeah, he also was playoffs. Yeah.
I saw that list though, and I was like, we got to do that, because we have not done any lists like this really, where we have combined that. We've done a couple duo lists and a couple other, but we've not done backcourt. So this one is top 5 NBA backcourts. This is all time, not playoffs, but this is a tough list to make. There are so many NBA backcourts that are ridiculously good all time. A lot of these backcourts that are on my list played up to 10 plus years together. And that's really not only the championships they won, but just the time they spent together is one of the biggest reasons that they're on my list. Time spent together and the success in between that. moving on to that list, getting right into it. Number 5 for me is Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars. This team, the Bad Boys Pistons, they were together most of the 80s and up until 94. 3 finals runs, 2 championships, and plenty of playoff runs in between. The big thing about Joe and Isaiah for me is not only did you see the offensive side, but you saw the defensive side. I mean, this was a time where the NBA was tough. The NBA was really aggressive. It was a lot. You see some of those highlights of games, some of those fouls are insane. You would get kicked out of the NBA completely today for some of those. So this was a time where you needed to be on your A game, both offensively and defensively. And that didn't stop at big men. I mean, that went to the guards, and Isaiah and Joe were 2 of the best to do it throughout that entire time, because from the mid 80s to the mid 90s, they were making the playoffs. They really are 2 of the biggest reasons that this team built up like this were because of these two players. So my number 5 has to be Isaiah and Joe from the Bad Boy Pistons. What about you?
My number 5, Chance Billups and Richard Hamilton. The reason why the Pistons were able to win. I think no one really gives them credit for it that well. No one says too much on it, but it's kind of like a Bad Boys 2.0 when you think about it, like the front court, like as you said, Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars. So that's my number 5, Chancey Billups and Richard Hamilton. Yeah, I don't think I was born at that time, but anyways, yeah.
It was honestly really, and that was an honorable mention for me. I keep forgetting to do an honorable mention list. I'll do that one of these days, but it's really interesting how it's not like a carbon copy, but it's very interesting how the Pistons, like, it's very similar. This was a very similar match, a very similar partnership. So it's kind of cool that the Pistons, they've had not a lot of success since then, but it's cool they had that success 80s, 90s, and then early 2000s with those backcourts that were extremely strong. So super good pick at number 5. My number 4 has to be Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili, who were together many seasons, and within that time, I don't think they missed the playoffs more than I don't know if they ever missed the playoffs. They were a team that was extremely aggressive and the Spurs were some of the most well-built teams in NBA history. The depth that Pop and those organizations built those championship teams were insane. And speaking of championships, Tony Parker, they went to 5 finals and won 4 championships in that time. And it's, of course, you had Tim Duncan. You had players that were huge factors. Kawhi Leonard, even, got to give him a shout out in this episode. Not that we haven't talked about him already enough, but I will say that Ginobili and Parker were 2 of the biggest factors because of, especially when it came to playoffs, not just playoffs, but during that time in the NBA, the early 2000s to the mid 2000s, it still had that 80s feel to it in certain ways. And they were players that stuck with that and were able to keep that energy and stay aggressive. And up until they retired, they were really big, or left the Spurs, because I guess they both kind of left it and then retired. Until they left the Spurs, they were really big parts of those teams. So my number 4 has to be Ginobili and Parker. What about you?
Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars. You said best. The anchor of the Bad Boy Pistons going back to back. I don't want to say competing with Jordan, because I don't think they did beat him once. So yeah, that's my number 5. And when you think of dominant backcourts, you think of those guys, and yeah.
Absolutely. No, that's the thing. The Pistons definitely have some of the more dominant backcourts when we think about backcourts that just could do it all on both sides and shut it down. Moving into the top 3, this is where it gets real. My number 3 is Kobe Bryant and Derek Fisher. 2 separate stints, but every single one of Kobe's championships were won with Derek Fisher. And I'm not going to stand here and say Derek Fisher is the reason Kobe Bryant won all of his championships, because that's definitely not true. But Derek Fisher is responsible for being that spark plug type of player that Kobe could rely on. So, and that was even after Shaq. We can talk about the Shaq era and give most of the credit of those championships to Kobe and Shaq. Now, they were extremely well-built teams that get overlooked by those 2 players sometimes, but those championships beyond Kobe and Shaq, man, those championships weren't won just because of Derek Fisher, but a huge part of that was Derek Fisher's vet experience and what he also could do on the court. So my number three has got to be them because 5 championships, 7 NBA finals. It's got to be Kobe and Derek Fisher. What about you? I was reading I was trying to get reading the comments. I was hard, but I got through it. What about
Um,
you?
I'm not going to mention because that was my number three, but I'm not going to mention it. And I'm going to just mention this number three just because someone politely asked us not to mention Derek Fisher's name. My number three has to be would be with a quick think change of mind. Ray Allen and Roger Rondo. I think that was the only reason why those guys won. Okay, obviously Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce. That was the reason why the 2008 Boston's were really good. I think I'm just going to put them there just cause I'm going to put it there just cause one of our good
Oh
guys
man.
out there said we shouldn't put Derek Fisher no more. He was Kobe and Fisher won my number three, but yeah, Rondo and Ray Allen, I think they deserve a
That's
shout
a
just
really
because of what they did. Rondo bust, or as in NBA terms, floor general.
Mhm.
He's the one of the definition of floor general. I think that was the season where he dropped what was it, 21 assists in the game. One of those crazy ass stats I can't really remember right now. And obviously Ray Allen, the shooter that we know him to be, third greatest shooter in the history of basketball, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, so just cause but
Hey,
yeah, that's number three right there.
that's fair. Moving into our top two, this is where it gets real. There's a couple people that I've seen on several lists and that I kind of thought of at first that I left off of here, but a duo you cannot leave off. Coming at number two for me is the Splash Brothers, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. This duo, 6 NBA Finals, 4 NBA championships, possibly the best, definitely the best regular season and playoff. Well, be except for number one. Number one is above, and I'll explain that next. I number one is number one for a reason, but Klay and Steph definitely two of the best to ever do it. The Splash Brothers having that nickname. Not every backcourt gets a nickname like that, and those two players just absolutely punished so many different teams throughout the season, both regular season playoff, and they were extremely hard to guard in their time. And winning 4 championships together in the modern NBA is not an easy thing to do. Shout out to those two players because in the modern NBA, I don't really know of any players that have won 4 championships together like that because LeBron has won that many, but it's been broken up. Like the fact that those and Draymond, let's throw Draymond Green in there. Come on now, he's been there too. He's not a part of this, but the fact that they won those chips together, I got to give some love to the Warriors. Maybe I'm just trying to get away from the fact that they're my number two, not my number one, but they're my number two for a reason. They're definitely up here. What about you, bro? What's your number two?
I can't believe you just did that. I'm sorry, I can't believe it. I can't accept that. I'm sorry. No.
There's a reason that they're not number one.
No, I know. No, no, no,
There's a
no.
big
Number two, you said it already, Manu Ginobili and what's it? The other I can't. I lost the track. What's his name? Manu Ginobili and oh, I can't remember right now.
Tony Parker, sorry.
Tony Parker. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh, yeah, I
Manu
was also
Ginobili and Tony Parker. But yeah, Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker as my number two. And I said they were pretty much the. Obviously, you have what's his name? Why am I blanking on these guys? The long hair guy, the center, the one people said should be in the MVP GOAT conversation. Uh, Tim Duncan. Well, how do I blanked on Tim Duncan? Anyway, obviously Tim Duncan was foundation of the San Antonio Spurs back in the day. But then you have Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker being the head of that team, controlling the backcourt, making plays left, right, and center. And even when I can't remember if it was Ginobili or Tony Parker who went off the bench and was controlling the second unit. I can't remember which of them who did that. But it was still when they were both on the court, it was electrifying to see. And I think if I remember correctly, they were the reason that freaking Miami could not not Miami. Yeah, I think Miami after the second championship could not repeat or so, and also Cleveland, like here and there too. So yeah, mine Ginobili, Anthony Parker, number 2.
Perfect. Very good pick. Moving to our number 1 pick. I'm pretty sure I know who you've got at number 1. I'm going to explain my number 1 pick because my number 1 pick is Magic Johnson and Michael Cooper. Now, what I will say is this: Michael Cooper did not start games for the Lakers in the 80s, but Michael Cooper, especially when we're talking about regular season and playoffs, was a closer defensively, and that partnership of Magic Johnson and Michael Cooper was ridiculous. When they were on the court together, they played 11 years together, went to 8 NBA finals, won 5 championships. And the difference between a lot of these other backcourts is Michael Cooper was definitely extremely equally important in all of them. So that's got to be my number 1. Magic Johnson, Michael Cooper. I guess you could interchange it with Byron Scott, but I'm not doing that. Magic Johnson, I'm keeping it as Michael Cooper because Byron Scott's not. It's got to be Michael Cooper and Magic Johnson at number 1.
That's what I thought you actually. Well, I thought you were going to say Byron Scott. Like that made more sense in my head than freaking Michael Cooper.
Michael Cooper defensively for the 80s and what basketball required. I got to stick with him at my number 1 spot. But let's shoot.
Done.
But let's hear your number 1 pick.
I'm done. No more. I'm done. I can't do this right now. My brain is fried. I can't do it. My heart's broken. Number 1, Klay Thompson Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, as we all know, aka Splash Bros. I think their resume speaks for themselves. We're talking of number 1 and number 2 greatest shooters of all time in NBA history. 4 championships back to back. Arguably, they could have been 6. If they hadn't blown, the 3-1 lead, and obviously if Klay didn't go down, they could have been 6. I think that's the greatest backcourt, both in regular season and in playoff history. No one can argue that. Freaking even Magic Johnson and Michael Cooper, no, whatever his name is.
Klay Thompson's the second best shooter in NBA history?
Yes.
In front of Ray Allen, in front of Reggie Miller?
Yes. Debate for another day, but yes.
Man, you're just trying to get smoke to get on your side completely.
Nope. I have no business with smoke whatsoever. I am telling you the absolute truth. The facts that you can't. No.
Hey, like you said, a debate for a different day. We'll have to do a player versus player for real. I like that idea. We'll make one happen. But Steph Curry definitely the best shooter of all time. That I'm not arguing with at all. That's facts. Sorry, but no. I mean, I guess I just wanted to find a way to defend my Michael Cooper claim. I don't know.
It's okay. It's each his own. Opinions are opinions. Well, in this case, you can't be having opinions like this. But yeah, fair enough.
Well, hey, this has been a very fun edition of Well Beyond the Arc. As always, playoff basketball. Of course, the season is wrapping up, but we still have plenty more basketball to talk about. If there are ever any top 5s you guys want to have us talk about, let us know in the comments, whether we're live or off air. Just let us know. Leave a comment of a top 5 you want to see. Also, player versus player, we're going to bring that back and do some player versus players in upcoming episodes. So definitely let us know if there's any player versus players. Maybe Reggie Miller versus Klay Thompson, something to that effect. But looking at that's true. That's one.
Second greatest shooter God created.
We'll have to figure. Hey,
I think that's foul.
We'll table.
That's not fair.
We're gonna table that one. I don't think we're gonna do that one. But any other suggestions you guys have, we definitely would look at them. But this is not the only place where you can find me and David. David, where else can our listeners and viewers find you on YouTube and podcasts?
YouTube podcast, My Not Football Fans podcast. We're pretty much done with the season. To be honest, we're on a break right now, pretty much from now to August. But check out our socials, My Not Football Fans. We'll be dropping content here and there. There are still competitions going around. You'll be seeing my face a lot on social media. So feel free to check us out. Check out soccer. And hopefully you fall in love with soccer. This is what it is. But yeah, My Not Football Fans podcast. We'd love to see you guys there. Check us out.
Make sure you guys check that out. And we will bring you guys some more NBA news, rumors, and everything in between soon. But until then, I hope you guys have a good week or weeks, whatever we're looking at. Have a good I don't know. Have a good week. We'll talk to you guys next week when the Mavs are in the finals.